Uh-oh. Three friends, Kyle, Harry, and Sherry, are locked in separate cages on a deserted island in the middle of a lake. Kyle's cage has a huge ice block on top of it. There's a tank with boiled water on top of Harry's cage. Only Sherry's cage hatch is locked, and the metal padlock is pretty heavy. The key is inside Kyle's cage. Can you find a way for the three friends to escape? It's daytime and the weather is hot. Therefore, the ice over Kyle's cage will soon melt. He'll be able to grab the key and escape through the hatch on top of his cage. As for the boiled water, it will eventually cool down. After that, Harry will be able to escape through the hatch on top of his cage, joining Kyle. Then the two guys can unlock Sherry's cage. The guys are now released from their cages. They begin to look for a way to escape and come up with three options. They can try to drive this old car, walk to the nearest village and ask for help, or use this rowboat, which floats not far from the shore. Can you help them choose the best option? It's a deserted island in the middle of a lake, remember? The first two options simply make no sense. The guys use the boat and manage to reach the mainland by midnight. Luckily, they find an abandoned cabin to spend the night. But it only has one match. There's an oil lamp, a fireplace, and a furnace in this cabin. What should they light first? Yeah, it's the match. Woo! The next morning, Kyle wakes up early. Harry and Sherry are still sleeping. He decides to go investigate the area. Soon Kyle finds a brand new airplane. He immediately gets behind the wheel to pick up his friends and fly away from this cursed forest. But suddenly, the owner of the vehicle shows up. He pushes Kyle out of the airplane without a parachute. There's only hard ground below him, but Kyle manages to survive. How? The airplane is still on the ground. Sherry wakes up second and decides to go pick some berries for breakfast. Finds three bushes with different types of berries, but only one of them is safe. Can you guess which one? Let's take a look at the first bush. Although raspberries are edible, a scorpion is hiding inside the bush, so Sherry should stay away from it. The second bush has a bunch of pretty berries, but there are no animal traces around the bush, so it's probably poisonous. As for the third option, it's a simple gooseberry bush. It has some animal traces around it. It seems quite reliable. Meanwhile, Harry wakes up in the cabin. He realizes that the room is on fire and he's trapped. The smoke prevents him from seeing the windows, and the door is blocked by the fire too. The firefighters are on their way, but he needs to think quickly to survive while he's waiting for help. Harry comes up with four options: to stay on the ground and stay as low as possible, to get on a chair and stay close to the ceiling, to take his clothes off to stay cooler, or to hide under the desk. Can you help him figure out the best solution? Harry should stay low to the ground. That way, he'll be better protected from fumes and smoke. The locals save Harry and Sherry from the fire and imprison them in their village. But soon, they get bored and decide to offer the prisoners a chance to escape. Harry and Sherry are put on opposite sides of one room. Both friends are facing a wall. The task is to write down a number between 10,000 and 1 million on a piece of paper without knowing what the other person wrote. If the two numbers end up being different, Harry and Sherry will be captured forever. But if they write the same number, the locals will set them free. Unfortunately, their ears are plugged with headphones playing loud music, so they can only communicate using sign language. Also, their feet are chained to the ground, so they cannot turn around. But yet, they manage to pick the same number. Ow! There were windows on the walls, so Harry and Sherry could see each other in the reflection of the glass. They could easily communicate using sign language. Meanwhile, Kyle is traveling through the jungle on his own to find his friends. Kyle takes a look inside his filtered water bottle. Ooh, bad news. He's almost out of water. He wanders around and finds 4 sources of water: a juicy cactus, a pond with salty salt water, a clear still lake, and a silt stream. What source of water should Kyle choose? Most cactuses are toxic, so instead of fighting his thirst, Kyle will get a stomachache. Salty salt water will dehydrate him. Stagnant water from the still lake is probably infested with all kinds of bacteria. So the best choice would be the silty stream. It contains nothing that Kyle's filter water bottle can neutralize. Kyle keeps on walking. Suddenly, he spots a crocodile and freaks out. Can you see it too? The croc is over here. Kyle is trying to escape, but the jungle is full of other wild animals. He only has 2 options: to sail on a motorboat across the lake when he saw the crocodile, or to sail on a regular boat across the Shark River. Can you help him pick the best option? Kyle should choose the second option. Sharks don't inhabit waters, so it's just a cool name. Meanwhile, Harry and Sherry are walking through the mountains. They find a cave and decide to explore it. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble and falling stones block the way out. The guys wander around and find 3 tunnels leading outside. A hungry mountain lion is waiting in the first tunnel. He hasn't eaten in 2 years. The second tunnel is infested with unknown flesh-eating insects. They love to feast on all types of mammals, including humans. And the third passage is guarded by a dangerous runaway criminal. He's ready to get rid of any witnesses just to avoid going to prison again. Which way is more or less safe? Harry and Sherry should choose the first passage. Mountain lions cannot live for 2 years without food. Harry and Sherry keep on walking. They argue about human body capabilities. They make a deal. Harry would go to Antarctica, and Sherry would travel to the Sahara Desert. They'll both try to survive in those locations for 3 days without any shelter or clothes, but with plenty of food and water. Who has the best chance of surviving? In Antarctica, the temperatures are freezing all the time, and without any cover, Harry would turn into a snowman in less than a day. In the Sahara, on the other hand, the heat is intense only during the day. It's rather cool there during the night, and a water supply will help Sherry fight dehydration. Harry and Sherry reach the top of a mountain. Suddenly, they spot Kyle in the woods. Unfortunately, the mountain road is very confusing. There are 3 possible routes the guys can take to reach Kyle. Can you help them choose the best option? Only the third route actually leads to Kyle. Finally, Kyle, Harry, and Sherry reunite. The guys approach the harbor, hoping to find a vessel to go home. Luckily, they meet a family of 3. Each of them is ready to give the guys a ride on their own boat. Timothy says, "My boat is the best. I bought it 6 months ago and named it after my wife." His son Thomas says, "My boat is 10 years old and has never let me down." And Monica, Timothy's wife, says, "My boat is used, but I know the route better than anyone. Trust me." And only one of them is telling the truth. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Timothy's boat. Its name is Michelle, not Monica, which means his story is a lie. Thomas lied about the age of his boat. The engraving says 1980. So the guy should say yes to Monica.
Susie writes scary tales, but her own life is rather boring. She lives alone with her cats. How many cats does Susie have? Can you count? That's right, 12. This cat on the shelf is a statuette. Susie had just finished writing her new novel and went to meet with her agent, Harry. Susie found him unconscious in his office. The police questioned 3 suspects. The cleaner said he'd been washing windows in Harry's office all morning. At that time, Harry was feeling perfectly fine. Sarah, another author, had an important business lunch outside the office. And George, also a writer, was writing a new novel at home. Who's lying? The cleaner. If he washed the windows, why are they so dirty? Susie returned home and went to bed. But in the middle of the night, strange sounds woke her up. She saw 3 ghosts in the middle of her bedroom. She noticed that one of the ghosts wasn't real and asked him to stop fooling around. Which ghost is fake? This guy over here. He's not transparent, and he's casting a shadow. The fake ghost took off his mask and costume. As soon as Susie saw his face, she started screaming. Why? Look at this poster on the wall. The guy looks exactly like the character from the cover of one of Susie's novels. Alex, is that you? Susie asked. Alex said, Yes, and I need your help. My world is in danger. Susie was willing to help him, but first, she wanted Alex to crack a riddle. I'm something people love or hate. I change people's appearances and thoughts. If a person takes care of themselves, I increase. I fool some people. To others, I am a mystery. Some people try to hide me, but I still show. And no matter how hard people try, I never go down. What am I? Alex answered correctly. Together, they entered a portal that had opened in Susie's mirror. What was his reply? It's age. Susie found herself inside her own scary tale. In front of the main gates leading to Ghost Town, skeletons stopped Susie and Alex. They said, If you want to enter the town, you have to guess our riddle first. Why are skeletons so chill? Susie gave the right answer, and they passed through. What did she say? Because nothing gets under their skin. Susie and Alex walked up to an old castle where a werewolf and a beauty lived. The locals said the girl didn't actually want to live there. The beauty invited Susie and Alex to the castle and said, My husband will be here soon. You have to hide. They hid in the basement and locked the door. But in the middle of the night, the werewolf managed to open the door and charged at them. How did the werewolf find them? The beauty was the werewolf. Susie and Alex ran away from the werewolf's castle and hid in a small cabin. But it was a trap. Someone locked the door from the outside. The walls of the cabin began to move. The pair had only 30 seconds to choose the right door to escape. The first door led to a tunnel with dangerous snakes and scorpions. There was a tiny wooden elevator behind the second door. And there was hot lava behind the third door. Which door should they choose? The second one. Although the elevator is small, they can still fit in together and escape from the creepy cabin. Susie and Alex got outside and saw a suspicious vampire. But he said, No worries, I won't bite you if you manage to solve my riddle. I run through hills, I veer around mountains, I leap over rivers and crawl through forests. Step out of your door to find me. What am I? Alex answered, and the vampire had to let them go. What did he say? I'm a road. The two were walking through a forest and came across two women. Alex whispered into Susie's ear, Be careful, one of them is a ghost. Which one is it? This lady over there, she doesn't have a shadow. Susie and Alex continued their crazy quest and met three friends on a beach. One of these guys was a werewolf. Can you guess which one? This guy, look at his footprints. He's turned into a human only recently. Susie and Alex decided to have a picnic on this romantic beach. Suddenly, they heard singing. A mermaid hypnotized them with her beautiful voice and took them to her underwater kingdom. When Susie woke up, she asked the mermaid to let them go. The magical creature answered, "I will let you go if you help me cut this cake into 4 pieces with only 2 cuts." Have you figured out how to do it? First, they should cut the cake in half. Now they need to cut the cake sideways through the middle so that it has 2 layers. Now the cake is divided into 4 pieces with only 2 cuts. The mermaid let them go. As soon as Susie and Alex got to the shore, they saw flames. Ms. Adams's warehouse was on fire. The locals caught 3 suspects. These people were near the warehouse when the fire started, but the police didn't find any matches or a lighter anywhere. Can you help Susie understand who the criminal is? There he is. He used his glasses and the sun's rays to start the fire. Sometime later, Susie and Alex met an elegant princess. She was crying because someone had stolen all her jewelry. She wanted to find the thief immediately. Alex questioned the neighbors.
"I was on the 2nd floor when I heard someone break in. They stole all the money from my safe, too,"
Ms. Skeleton said. Another neighbor, Ms. Monster, said that someone had taken away her priceless antique vase. Susie knew for sure that one of the ladies was lying. After all, she had written this story. But Alex couldn't figure out who the thief was. Can you help him? It was Ms. Skeleton. She said she was on the 2nd floor, but her house is a 1-story building. An elf called Derek came up to Susie and asked her for help. He hadn't seen his girlfriend Fiona for 2 weeks. He was afraid that something terrible could have happened to her. Susie and Alex went to the address Derek had given them. Fiona ran a cute magic goods store, but the locals said that she had a secret room for black magic rituals in the basement of her store. Can you see any clues or secret doors? This painting on the wall is hanging straight, but there are scratches on the wall, as if someone had been moving the painting lots of times. Susie and Alex moved the painting too, and this opened a secret door. They went downstairs and found the room. They looked through Fiona's magical tools and notes and found out that she had been working on a recipe for an immortality potion. The last record in her notes was this: "Today I'm gonna test my potion on myself." They saw a suspicious door with a huge lock at the back of the lab. Alex broke the door down, and they saw Fiona sitting on a chair, unconscious. She was holding an empty bottle. What happened there? Did Fiona fail her experiment, or did someone help her? Someone else has definitely been here. If Fiona had simply fainted, she wouldn't have been able to lock the door. Alex brought Fiona to a hospital. He noticed 3 people in the hall, but something seemed a little weird to him. What is it? This doctor's first aid kit has the wrong image on it. Alex confessed to Susie that he liked her and asked her out. They went on a date to a local concert hall. Suddenly, they noticed a pianist lying unconscious on the stage. He was holding a note in his hand. The police immediately questioned the suspects. The conductor said he'd been talking to journalists in his room. The janitor said he'd been cleaning the lobby. And the flutist was practicing for the concert. Who's guilty? The flutist. This note is a rebus riddle that says flute. Susie and Alex went to a magic show. The magician claimed he could read anyone's mind with his fingers. Susie didn't believe him. "I can prove it," the magician said, and asked for 2 volunteers. Susie and a girl called Amy went to the stage and wrote their thoughts on 2 pieces of paper. They rolled them up and put them in the magician's hat. The man took out the first note and said, "Get ready to see some real magic. Someone loves a guy named Mike." And that was exactly what Amy thought. Everybody was shocked and began to applaud. The magician unrolled the first piece of paper and put it aside. Then he pulled the second one out and said, "Susie doesn't believe in my magic." And that was the correct answer too. But Susie knew the magician was cheating. How? The second volunteer was fake. The magician already knew what she had written. That's why he said her phrase first. Then he unfolded Susie's piece of paper, memorized the text, and said it later. The magician was very offended, so he called the show's acrobats to take revenge. The acrobats grabbed Susie and Alex and made them participate in a creepy survival game. Susie and Alex had to walk over a glass bridge. One wrong step, and they'd fall down where the hungry lions were already waiting for them. But if they succeeded in this challenge, Alex would turn into a real person. Half of the glass slabs that made up this bridge were very fragile, but the rest of them were very strong. How could Susie and Alex get to the other side and stay alive? They need to crawl close to the middle of the bridge, along the metal beams. Next morning, Susie woke up in her bedroom. She yelled, "Oh my, it was just a dream." But it wasn't. How can you tell? Alex's shirt is hanging on Susie's chair.
The other day, Mike had a dentist appointment. When he came to the dentist's office, he saw 2 doors leading to the rooms. The administrator was away, so Mike decided to find the right room himself. He opened the right door first, and then he checked the left room too. Where was the real dentist? The real dentist was behind the left door. Look, the dentist stands over the chair and holds a dental instrument in his hands. In the chair, there's a teenager who's having his teeth professionally cleaned. But behind the right door, the dentist is holding a tattooing machine. A teen in that room is looking at him with suspicion. Jennifer was exploring some spooky old house, looking for fancy antique things. Some hours later, she got tired and decided to have a quick lunch, which she had packed in the morning. She went to the dining room with a large table and 3 chairs, lit the candles, and was about to take a seat. But all of a sudden, she spotted something weird about most of the chairs in that room. What chair should Jennifer sit on? Jennifer was super attentive. That's why she sat on the chair in the middle. The one on the left has a sharp nail sticking out, and the one on the right is already taken. Look! There's a ghost sitting on it. Stuart was taking the final cooking exam. He has always wanted to be a chef, and he was about to take one step closer to his dream. The professor said the one who answered all his questions would get the certificate with honors and the money prize of $10,000. The most important thing is that this person will also be offered a sous chef position at one of the most prestigious restaurants in Paris. All the students answered 19 questions, and the professor read the last and the most complicated one. What product will never be salty when you boil it, no matter how much salt you add? 2 days later, Stuart was on his way to Paris. He was the only one to know the answer. What product was the professor talking about? It's an egg in the shell. No matter how much salt there is in the water, the boiled egg won't be salty. Fiona left her husband a shopping list for him to go to the supermarket. These guys are really into riddles, so the list was full of them. Fiona wanted Mark to buy something that has eyes but can't see, something that has ears but can't hear, and the wealthiest nuts. What did Fiona want Mark to buy? Fiona needed some potatoes, corn, and cashews. Jenny was locked in a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it. But how? she put the orange on one person's head. A notorious bad guy caught wealthy businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I'll leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to the office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse had been invited to a party. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said that he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said he remembered seeing one visitor heading to the office. Somehow he ignored it and didn't stop them. The waiter got arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant wasn't open yet. There could be no visitors. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were 2 conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen, then she poured the juice on top of it. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents: a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. James was a famous detective who could crack even the hardest cases. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water, but quite dusty. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The bad guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Jane was walking home late. She was pretty tired, so she decided to take a bus. It was midnight, but the bus was packed with people. You get a gut feeling later that there's something wrong with some of these people. Who's a zombie? There are 20 people on the bus. There are 2 zombies among them. A man on the right has a bit of a bandage on his arm, and the woman next to the window seems to be groaning all the time. All the people in town thought Jack wasn't smart enough. Every time somebody offered him a 50C coin or a $1 bill, he would always choose the 50C coin. Many people every day would offer him to do it, but he never grabbed the bill. Why was Jack smart? Jack was actually pretty smart because he would get money without doing anything. As long as he agreed to get less money for no reason, people would come and try his trick again and again. See that car? Jack's been refusing $1 bills for over 10 years now, so he saved up enough money to get a car. You find yourself in a photo gallery. After looking at the wall, you realize that one of the pictures doesn't belong. You see a raccoon, a llama, a football, and a balloon. Can you tell which is the odd one out? You have 7 seconds to guess. It's the llama picture. The other 3 objects have 2 double letters in their names, but the llama only has 1 double. And trust me, don't get too close to the llama. They might spit in your face. It's not fun. You have 3 matches. Can you make a 6 out of them without breaking them into pieces? Who said the number 5 has to be a standard 6? The match is made a perfect Roman numeral 3 right from the get-go. So all you have to do is bring the bottoms of the first 2 matches toward each other, and you've got a Roman numeral 6. It's your first day in the new office. Some colleagues don't seem really friendly, and you can't understand why. They also act strange, never have coffee breaks, and work at least 12 hours a day. A secretary at the reception desk, Lauren, tells that their company hires robots sometimes because they work harder than people and aren't addicted to coffee. She also says to stay away from them and try not to talk to them or even greet them because they can be unpredictable sometimes. It's quite easy to tell who's a robot. Can you guess who's a robot among these 3 people? Anna, Mike, and Lucy? It's Mike. He's the only one among 3 people who have a switch on the right.
Imagine you got into a portal leading to the multiverse. It's like a trip from one world to another. You'll have to solve completely different, random, strange, and psychedelic riddles. Listen carefully, and you'll solve them all. One prisoner has been in a dungeon for many years. His room is small, dirty, and cold. There's a table with delicious food on it in the next room, behind the iron door. Somebody brings new food every week. The door leading to this room is about several inches thick. During all these years, the prisoner somehow manages to get into that room and enjoy delicious food. How does he do it? No one mentioned the door to that room was locked. A lonely wanderer passes through the sands of the Sahara. He notices the outlines of an ancient temple in the distance. Food and water are inside this building. He's approaching the building, but a huge sphinx appears in front of the entrance. It tells the wanderer that the way inside the temple is only allowed to those who can solve the riddle. Tell me, wanderer, you have 3 body parts that begin and end with the same letter. Name them, and I'll let you through, the sphinx says. The eye, says the wanderer. Without thinking twice, he names the second body part. It's the throat. Time passes. He still can't name the 3rd body part. The Sphinx demands an immediate response. What should the wanderer answer? It's the second eye. An old sailor picked up a treasure chest from the seabed. As soon as he takes 1 gold coin from there, a pirate appears in front of him. "How dare you touch my treasures?" the pirate says. "You're doomed to spend half your life at sea and the other half on land." The sailor is old and he doesn't know how much time he has left to live. How can he spend half of his remaining life in the water? He can do it if he spends 1 day at sea and the other day on land. You're out of luck. You find yourself on a small island during the battle of 2 phoenixes. There's fire everywhere. You run away towards the shore to the opposite part of the island. It's covered with dry grass. The wind drives the flame in your direction. You can't hide in the water because the kraken is over there. How will you escape from the fire? You need to move away from the shore in the direction of the approaching flame and set the grass on fire. The wind will spread the fire you started towards the sea. The main fire has not reached you yet. You're standing on the site between two fires going in one direction. As soon as the small fire reaches the sea and goes out, you come to the shore and wait for the main fire. It won't reach you because there's nothing left to burn. You've spent several days in the jungle in search of an ancient artifact. You have a spear, a bottle of water, and a flashlight. You climb a hill and look at the rainforest. You hear the sound of crunching branches from below. You notice a lion. What will you do? Use a spear? Scream to scare away the animal? Or should you give it some water? Make up your mind. Time's running out. You've noticed the lion, but who said the lion had noticed you? Just wait for it to leave. An old man is sitting in the hall among young students. He can hardly see the teacher who entered the hall. The teacher carefully looks at all the students and informs them that there's just one question they have to answer to pass the exam. He takes a shiny billiard ball out of his briefcase and puts it on the table. Prove that this ball doesn't exist, the teacher says. The exam ends in a few hours. All students write their answers on a piece of paper, and almost all of them get a bad grade. In the end, the old man with poor eyesight approaches the teacher. He gives him a paper with only 2 words on it. The teacher gives the old man the highest score. What was written on his sheet of paper? Which ball? The old man wrote. Now you're in a dark dungeon. You're looking for a werewolf to defeat it. At this point, your torch goes out. You hear a growl behind you. It's scared. "I'm sorry, Mr. Werewolf," you say, and rush to the exit as fast as you can. You run out of the dungeon and find yourself in a field. 3 paths are in front of you. A pit with snakes, a road with scorpions, and a poisonous lake. What will you choose? Can you see a hat on the water in the right part of the lake? This means that the lake is frozen. Just run on it. As soon as you cross the lake, you see a little puppy coming out of the dungeon. It barks at you and runs back into the dungeon. You're in an old tavern. Robbers, wizards, and pirates are all around you. The young magician puts a small box on the table and says, "There are 3 cents in here, but only 2 coins. One of them is not 1 cent. How can this be possible?" What coins are inside the box? One coin is 2 cents, and the other one is a 1 cent coin. The magician said that only one of the 2 cents is not a 1 cent coin. You're walking through a dark forest and notice a door. It's just standing there by itself. You open it, take a step, and you find yourself in a wonderful pink world. There are pink rivers and pink trees there. You see a 1-story pink house and go inside. All the furniture is pink. A meowing pink cat is walking around. You walk down the corridor to the stairs leading to the 2nd floor. What color is this staircase? There are no stairs in the house. It's a 1-story building, remember? You and hundreds of other farmers roam the desert. You've lost your crops because of drought. There is almost no water. You go towards the sea to start a new life, but at this moment, clouds are accumulating over the whole plain. Lightning flashes in the black sky. A heavy downpour falls on the ground. All the people are screaming with joy and dancing in the rain. After a few seconds, you get soaked to the skin and freeze. You look around at the crowd of soaked people and notice one man among them. Despite the downpour, not a single hair on his head got wet. How is this possible? The man is bald. You wake up inside an airplane because of a loud engine. You don't remember how you got here and don't know what's going on. You get up from your chair and find no other people on the plane. You walk forward, look into the cockpit, and oh no, the pilots are not there. You look around in search of a parachute, but don't find anything. You look out the window and decide to take a desperate step. You open the emergency exit and jump out of the plane. You land on the asphalt unharmed. How is this possible? The plane wasn't flying anywhere. It was standing still on the ground. You're driving a car nervously looking in the rearview mirror. No one seems to be following you. The stars and the moon are not visible because of the clouds. The road seems empty. You're driving with your headlights off. No one should notice you. At this moment, an old woman dressed in a black suit crosses the road. The moon is not shining. The headlights are off. She is dressed in black. Despite all these factors, you slow down, stop the car, and let the old lady cross the road. How did you notice her? No one said it happened at night. You were driving in the afternoon. You're climbing to the top of the highest mountain on the planet Flycilium. You're the first person in history who manages to do this. Once you reach the top, you will receive a cash prize from the Galactic Tourism Federation. The whole planet is covered with snow and ice. It's very cold, dry, and lifeless here. The only place with green grass and warm air is the peak where you're heading now. Exhausted, you finally reach your goal and fall to the ground. However, the Galactic Tourism Federation refuses to pay you. Why is that? Did you notice shoe marks on the grass? It means that someone was here before you. A girl walks into an old antique store. Her mouth is covered with duct tape, but she's okay with it. She approaches the seller and tries to tell them what she needs using gestures. She sticks her finger in her left ear and puts her fist to the right ear. Then she starts rotating her fist. The seller understands the girl wants to buy a pencil sharpener. She pays and leaves. Then a man with a blindfold enters the store. He wants to buy scissors. How should he explain this to the seller? He can just say it. He has a blindfold over his eyes, not over his mouth. And we're done with riddles. Now it's time to go back to your universe. While you're flying there through space and time, let's count the number of your correct answers. 0 to 3 points. Don't get upset, at least you tried. You'll do better next time. 4 to 8 points. Not so bad, but not great either. These were not the easiest riddles. 9 to 11 points. It's good, but you could have done better. If you pay more attention to what the riddles say, you'll understand what the catch is. 12 to 14 points. It's difficult to take you by surprise. You can find the right solution in any strange situation. 15 points. You're an absolute winner. If you have managed to solve all 15 riddles, you're a real champion of attentiveness and resourcefulness. Okay, this is a joke. There were only 14 riddles in this video. Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was one door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door, there was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controlled the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches however she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. Sometime later, she managed to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1, then waited for a few minutes. Then, she flipped it back to off and immediately flipped switch number 2. Then, she opened the door and checked the light. It was turned off. So she realized it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. She decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb was cold, it would mean that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled it. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measured 7 minutes, and the other measured 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned over both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute hourglass was done, the other one still had 3 minutes left. Carol flipped the 4-minute hourglass over again. By the time the 7-minute hourglass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other hourglass. And by the time the 4-minute hourglass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand in the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute's worth of sand in the top part of the hourglass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes had passed in total. Phew, that took some work. Someone stole a rare diamond from Mrs. Monica Fraser's house. Mrs. Fraser claimed she'd walked into her bedroom one morning and found that the glass box in her dressing room had been broken and the diamond had been gone. She called a detective, who soon arrived at her place and asked some questions. Based on his inquiries, he gathered 3 suspects. Mrs. Fraser's gardener, Steve, had the key to the house. Her cousin Sophia was staying with her for the week, and the cleaning lady Adeline cleaned the house every day. Steve said he was on holiday that week, so he wasn't anywhere near the house when it had happened. Sophia said she didn't even know her cousin had a diamond hidden in her house. And Adeline said that she'd been cleaning the house at around 10 p.m. the previous night. Everything had seemed all right. Who stole the jewelry? It was the cleaning lady. It seems that right after she broke the glass and stole the diamond, she also wiped off the pieces of glass left on the floor. On a cold winter day, Jason woke up after a medical procedure. He was lying in bed when the doctor walked into his room, saying there were 3 women outside claiming to be his wife. All 3 of them wanted to see Jason, but only his wife was allowed to do so. Look at the women. Which one do you think is telling the truth? The woman wearing a white shirt is the only one that has a ring on her left finger. She's the wife. It was a lazy Sunday morning, and John was having breakfast in the kitchen. Suddenly, he heard glass shattering. He walked into the living room and saw that someone had just broken one of his windows. He was mad and decided to go outside to see if he could find the culprit. There were only 3 people in the street, so he talked to each of them. The first was one of his neighbor's children. He was coming back from his football practice, holding a ball in his hands. He said he'd been going home at the time of the incident. The second person was Stephen, John's neighbor and longtime friend. He was carrying a toolbox. The man said he decided to come home to fix John's window. The last person was Julio, a mailman. He was riding his bike, throwing newspapers on people's front lawns. He said it had been hours since he'd passed John's house. Soon enough, John figured out who had done it. How? It was the mailman. If you look at the lawn, the newspaper is lying on the grass beneath the window. He threw the newspaper towards the mailbox, but missed it, and it hit John's window. Whoops. It was a stormy night. Kate and her boyfriend stayed up late watching a soap opera. In the middle of it, there was a weather forecast. The weather lady said it would keep raining for 2 more days, but in 72 hours, it'd be bright and sunny. Kate turned to her boyfriend and said that the weather lady was wrong, and the girl was right. Why? Because in 72 hours, it will also be nighttime, so it can't possibly be bright and sunny. It was Amelia's dream to go skydiving, but she was afraid of heights. One day, her friend took her to fulfill her dream. Amelia jumped from an airplane without a parachute and didn't get hurt. How is that possible? The plane wasn't flying, it was still on the ground. Duh. Dave, an archaeologist, traveled to Egypt on a very special mission. He spent days excavating ruins hidden under the sand, and the only thing he found was a coin marked 10 BCE. When he showed it to his colleagues, they told him the coin was a fake. Why? Well, because the designation BCE didn't appear until after the beginning of our era. It was raining when Mrs. Moore called the police. She said someone had just bumped into her car and driven away. When the police arrived, the only person next to the place of the incident was a man fixing his tire. Mrs. Moore said that was the car that had bumped into hers. However, the gentleman said that it couldn't be true because he'd been busy fixing his car the whole time. Can you tell who's lying? It's the guy fixing his car. The rain started just recently. If he'd been fixing his car this whole time, the ground underneath it would be dry. But look, it's wet. This means he's just arrived there and is actually the one responsible for the incident. 4 friends decided to meet up for coffee one afternoon. Someone asked which one of them was the oldest, and they answered with a riddle. Mia is 3 times older than Anna, but 3 years ago, Anna was a year younger than Claudia is now, and Olivia is twice as old as Anna. So can you put the girls into order by age? The correct order is Mia, Olivia, Anna, and Claudia. Here's a quick one. What belongs to you, but others use it more often? Your name. Outside a fancy palace, 2 sentinels were guarding the main gate. They were standing, looking in different directions, one towards the west and the other towards the east. At some point, one of the sentinels asked the other, "What are you smiling about?" How could he know that his colleague was smiling? Well, despite the fact that they were looking in different directions, they weren't standing back to back. They were facing each other. Kevin was away on business and had to spend the night in a hotel. After a full day of meetings, he returned to his room to get some rest. He went to bed but couldn't fall asleep. After tossing and turning in bed for hours, he called someone, didn't say a word, and then finally fell asleep. Who did Kevin call? And how could he finally fall asleep? He called the room next door, as his neighbor was snoring very loudly. The ringing woke the neighbor up, the snoring stopped, and Kevin managed to doze off. You've just come back from a long vacation. There, you bought a new suitcase to store all the new things you got, but you don't remember the code. Luckily, you left yourself a note on your cell phone to help you decipher the code to open the lock. 682. One digit is right and in its place. 614. One digit is right but in the wrong place. 206. 2 digits are right but both are in the wrong place. 768. All digits are wrong. 380. One digit is right but in the wrong place. What's the 3-digit code? Zero, 4, 2. Look at the photo. It seems like Adrian is in danger, and he can't even see what's about to happen. But lucky him, he survived. And just 2 minutes later, he was eating cotton candy. How is it possible? Adrian is at a zoological museum. Look closely. The tiger is behind thick glass, and it's not even moving at all. It's just a statue, so it was completely safe for Adrian to stand there. The police were chasing a criminal who had just robbed a little store in a city suburb. They'd been chasing his car for a while, but then the vehicle took an unexpected turn and won some time. The police followed it and a minute later arrived at a gas station. But there were 2 identical cars there. Which one of them is the criminal's car? It's this one. Look, the gas tank is on the opposite side, so the car is here not to get filled up, but to blend in. Max, a cute dog, was staying in a dog hotel while his family was on vacation in Greece. 2 weeks later, 3 men came to pick him up, all claiming to be his owner. Who do you think the real owner is? It must be this man. Look, he has Max's name tattooed on his arm. Look at this picture of people in a movie theater. Most of them are couples, but 2 visitors are twins, a brother and a sister. Can you tell which couple it is? It must be these 2. Look, they have similar white strands in their hair. It'd be too much of a coincidence for a couple. Mr. York was pushed out of a plane by his business competitor while no one was looking. Mr. York got some injuries but survived. How is it possible? Think outside the box to get it right. When it happened, the plane was still on the runway. Okay, let's have a little break now. I'll be showing you an emoji, and your task is to find the one that doesn't belong to the group. Ready? Here's the first one. What do you say? I'd say that this one doesn't belong here. All the others are blue. Okay, here's another set for you. Will you manage to find the one that doesn't belong here? All of them except for this one are sports equipment. Any ideas here? Yes, they're all summer related, but this one doesn't really fit in. And the last set for you. Will you manage to find the odd one? These are all real everyday objects, but this one is magical, so it's the odd one out. Belle and Chloe are twins. One year, Belle had her birthday on Friday.
Oh, yes.
Chloe celebrated her birthday 2 days later on Sunday. The guests who came to both parties didn't believe that twins could have birthdays 2 days apart, but the girls showed their IDs and explained everything. So, how is it possible? The twins were born at night. Belle was born right before midnight on February 28th, and Chloe was born right after midnight on March 1st. This year was a leap year, and February 29th came in between these dates. Inoni lives on a farm where she has horses, rabbits, and chickens. Here's what she says about her horses.
All of my horses except for 2 are black. Also, all of them except for 2 are brown. And all of them except for 2 are white.
How many horses does Inoni have? And what color are they? She has just 3 horses, 1 black, 1 brown, and 1 white. There was a diversity week at school, and one of the students was robbed. Detective Callum interrogated 3 main suspects. Eliza said she'd been working in the cafeteria the whole time. Asher pointed at one of the flags and said he'd been fixing it since it had been hanging upside down. Naya said that the student who had been robbed was her best friend, so she never would have done that. Who's guilty? Asher. The flag that was supposed to be hanging upside down is actually symmetrical. On a rainy day in the summer, a house in a small neighborhood was robbed while the owners were away. The police came to interrogate 4 neighbors. Everyone said that it had been raining. They'd been at home all day, eating and watching movies. Take a look at the houses. Who is lying? Reed is lying. Look, the ground under his car is wet, which means he arrived after it had started raining. So, he did leave his house. Miss Virginia Dell was a rich gentleman's daughter. She was staying at her hotel room when a security guard called her. He told her to run away since the criminal was going up to her room. Miss Dell ran to the elevators, but in each of them, there was a man. Which elevator is safe for her to use? The criminal obviously came from the first floor, and since this man is going down, it must be safe to go with him.
Really?
Dakota woke up in a dungeon. She couldn't remember what had happened. After wandering around for a while, she found out it was a vampire's castle, guarded by the creature himself. Also, she found 3 chests. One of them was full of gold coins. Another was filled with silver coins. And the third chest was full of diamonds. Dakota could take any chest with her, but she wouldn't be able to get past the vampire anyways. What should the girl do? Dakota should take the chest with silver coins. Vampires are afraid of silver, so she'll be able to walk past him. Amelia is participating in a game show, and here is her last task. If she completes it, she'll win. She has cubes with these numbers. She should use 3 of them so that the sum total is equal to 30. Which ones should Amelia use? She should turn the cube with 9 over to get 6, and then use it along with 11 and 13. Sienna must leave the house in exactly 9 minutes. The power is off and her cell phone battery is flat. Sienna has 2 hourglasses. One measures 7 minutes and the other measures 4 minutes. How can she use them to measure exactly 9 minutes? Sienna should start both hourglasses at the same time. When the 4-minute hourglass runs out, she should start it again. 4 minutes will pass. When the 7 minutes hourglass runs out a bit later, she should start it again. It'll be 7 minutes. The 4-minute hourglass will run for 1 more minute together with the 7-minute one. When it runs out of sand, it'll be 8 minutes. Sienna should then flip over the 7-minute hourglass. It'll have sand in its top part for exactly 1 minute. Now, I'll be showing you some images, and your task is to find out what's wrong with them. Ready? Here's the first one. What do you think? This car has no steering wheel. Easy. What about this picture? Can you notice anything odd about it? The reflection in the mirror is different from reality. What about this picture? What's really off here? These people are playing soccer, but they're playing it with a basketball. What about this picture? Do you see any mistakes here? People are in open space, but they're not wearing spacesuits. They wouldn't be able to breathe without them. Some people went on a hot air balloon trip. Can you see what's wrong here? This is definitely not a hot air balloon. Take a very close look at this picture and try to find a mistake. Can you see it? Look, the door hinges are on the wrong side of the door. Look, it's very pretty, but something is off. Can you figure out what? Pay attention to the rainbow. The color arrangement is incorrect. What about this winter paradise? Do you see anything that doesn't belong here? The butterflies. There's no butterflies in the winter. Next one, this cool space picture. Do you see what's wrong with it? The astronauts are wearing spacesuits and they're on the surface of the moon. But look, there's another moon in the sky. It's not possible and they should observe Earth instead. Can you notice any inconsistencies here? The label on the carton says that it's almond milk, but then why is a cow pictured on it too? Nelly is approaching a picturesque field. She's carrying a package. If she doesn't manage to open it before reaching the field, she won't survive. Can you guess what's in the package? Nelly is skydiving. There's a parachute in her package. After a safe landing, Nelly decides to take a walk in a sunflower field. Can you help her spot 3 odd things about this area? This straw man is winking. This sunflower has teeth, and there are 2 suns in the sky. Nelly walks too far and gets lost in the woods. She wanders around for a while and meets 4 guys sitting on one big tree. Can you help her rank them in order of foolishness? The 4th person is cutting the branch where he sits, so he's the silliest. The 1st person is sitting on the branch that will soon be cut by the 2nd guy, so the 1st person is the 2nd most foolish. The 2nd person doesn't see that he's about to fall too, so he's the 3rd. And finally, the 3rd guy. He's a bad person, but definitely not a stupid one. Nelly moves on and finds a highway. 3 people offer to give her a ride to the nearest town. Can you help Nelly choose the safest driver? Take a look at this guy's car. Its tires are flat, and there's a puddle of engine oil spilled out of the car. Probably not the safest choice. This beautiful lady and her car are both translucent because they're ghosts. As for this gloomy trucker, he looks pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Nelly enters a local coffee shop and meets 2 ladies. Both ladies tell her that they are daughters of a famous billionaire. Can you guess who's lying? The lady on the right is a liar. The logo on her t-shirt is fake. Therefore, she's not rich. Nelly doesn't have any money to buy food. The coffee shop manager feels sorry for her and offers Nelly a free lunch. But first, she has to solve his tricky riddle. Nelly agrees. Here's the task.
People have stepped on me, but not many. I never stay full for long. I have a dark side. What am I?
Can you help Nelly win her free food? The correct answer is the moon. Nelly is eating and looking through the pictures hanging on the wall. Suddenly, she sees something weird. Can you spot any odd details too? This person appears in both pictures, looking young and pretty, but the time distance between these 2 photos is 100 years. Nelly enters a flower shop and sees the owner putting bouquets in big vases. If he puts 1 bouquet per vase, he will end up with 1 extra bouquet. And if he puts 2 bouquets per vase, he will end up with 1 extra vase. How many vases and bouquets does he have? He has 3 vases and 4 bouquets. The flower shop owner offers Nelly a job. He has just received a delivery. There are 3 boxes labeled red roses, white roses, and red and white roses. Each box is labeled incorrectly. Nelly has just 1 chance to pick up a flower from any box and then label the boxes correctly. Can you help her accomplish this task? Nelly should take a flower from the box labeled as red and white roses. Since they're labeled incorrectly, this box should contain either red roses only or white roses only. Let's suppose that Nelly finds the red roses. Now she can label this box correctly. We know that the white box cannot have white roses. Therefore, now Nelly can label the remaining 2 boxes correctly. After earning some cash, Nelly decides to book a room in the local hotel to get some rest. The manager offers her to choose from 3 empty rooms. Can you help Nelly pick the best option? There are cracks in the window glass in the first room. Very unsafe. And there's a zombie hiding under the bed in the third room. So, Nelly should choose the second one. Nelly locks herself in the room. She opens the window and stands nearby, breathing fresh air. Suddenly, she throws something out of the window. Nelly passes out very soon after doing that. That's a mystery because she's perfectly healthy and nobody did anything to her because the door is locked. Can you find any logical explanation for what happened here? Nelly decided to throw a boomerang out of the window. The boomerang went to the maximum distance and returned back straight to her head. After a while, Nelly wakes up with a headache. She goes to the local shop to buy some aspirin. She spots 3 odd things about this place. Can you see them too? There's corn on the shelf along with napkins and toilet paper. The announcement offers an 800% discount. That's too good to be true. And finally, the shopkeeper is wearing 2 pairs of glasses. Suddenly, the shopkeeper begins to yell, "Someone stole my money!" And he locks the customers inside the shop and calls the police. They arrive and question 4 suspects. Maya says,
I came here to buy water for my 12 o'clock yoga class. I'm 20 minutes late because of you.
Bob says, "What's the point of stealing cash? Everyone knows that people use cards nowadays." Lily says,
This shopkeeper is a bad person. He deserved that.
and Nelly replies,
Sorry, I was focusing on my own purchase. I didn't see anything suspicious.
after hearing that the officers had arrested 1 person. Can you guess who? Maya, take a look at the clock on the wall. It's only 10 a.m. She's not late, therefore she's lying. Nelly is walking down the street. She sees a cozy garage sale organized by Miss Green. The fixed price for any item is only $1. Amy buys an old dress. Phil takes this beautiful antique vase, and Vivienne purchases a shabby vintage suitcase. Nelly comes over to Miss Green and says,
Oh,
Madam, you've just sold an expensive thing for a song.
what?
What does she mean? Can you guess? Vivienne lifts this suitcase quite easily, so it's probably empty. And besides, it has holes in the bottom. Therefore, it can't be precious. This vase isn't antique. It has a sticker from a dollar store. Although this dress is dirty and torn, it has a large, expensive brooch pinned to it, so many gemstones can't cost just $1. Nelly asks Miss Green if she can use her bathroom. Miss Green says,
Sure, it's at the end of the corridor.
Nelly is walking down the corridor and confuses the doors. Nelly ends up in this messy kitchen. The door won't open. Can you help Nelly find a key? It's in the teapot. And Miss Green enters the kitchen and tells Nelly,
I'm a witch, young lady, and I'm gonna give you a gift if you manage to solve my riddle.
Nelly agrees. Here's the task.
It starts with tea, it ends with tea, and it's full of tea. What is it?
Can you solve this mystery? The correct answer is a teapot again. Miss Green brings Nelly to her dusty basement and says,
One of these 3 doors leads to a magical world, and the other 2 are fake. You have only one attempt to choose the correct door. Good luck. Oh, yeah.
Can you help Nelly out? She should choose the 3rd door. Take a look at the floor. Dusty footprints lead to the 3rd door only, which means that doors 1 and 2 are fake. Nelly opens the 3rd door and enters an enchanted forest. There are 4 ways to cross it, but all 4 passages are pretty dangerous. A hungry dragon is waiting for her on the first route. A massive fire is burning all over the 2nd path. And the 3rd path is basically a windowless tunnel. And the 4th passage is full of scorpions and snakes. Can you help Nelly choose the right path? She should pick the 3rd way. The tunnel doesn't have windows. But who said it doesn't have an exit? Nelly walks the tunnel and finds herself in a beautiful castle. The guard says, "This castle is yours if you manage to crack my riddle. I can fill a room, but I take up no space. What am I?" Can you help Nelly win the castle? The correct answer is light.
Let's dive right in, shall we? Jane, Emma, and Carla are working out in a gym. One of them isn't being careful enough. Who is it? It's Carla. Look, she's doing exercises while chewing gum. She could accidentally choke on it. Look at Matt and Olivia. They're both cooking dinner. Matt is using a stove and Olivia is using a grill outside. Which of them is doing something wrong? It's Matt. He forgot to turn the stove on. Noor was a married man, and his wife had a twin sister. One day, the twins decided to trick him. They both pretended to be his wife to see if he'd find the right person. Unfortunately, Noor got way too confused. Can you find his real wife? Look at the wedding picture of Noor and his wife. She has a tattoo on her right arm, so his wife must be the woman on the left who also has a tattoo on her right arm. Willem and Sean were caught by the police close to the graffiti that had just appeared on a building. One of them painted it, but both denied doing anything. Who do you think is lying? It was Willem. Look, there's some paint on her hands and shirt. Drake and Thor are both on vacation. Drake is skiing in the mountains with his girlfriend, and Thor is surfing with his best friend. Look at them now. Which one of them is in danger? Drake! He's screaming in the mountains. It's not safe because it can cause an avalanche. Now, let's find some pet owners. For example, look at these 3 girls. Can you figure out who the cat belongs to? Its owner is the girl on the right. Look at her legs and hands. She has some scratches, very typical for cat owners. Now, there are 3 people sitting in the park. See that dog playing there? Who does it belong to? To the guy in the middle. Look, he has a leash. These guys, Ian, Noah, and Luke, are basketball players. They're getting ready for the game in the changing room. Which of them is Noah? It must be this guy, the one who's not wearing shoes. Look, his shoes are in the locker with the name tag Noah. Esme was walking in the forest and got lost. She had been wandering for hours until she came across a witch's house. The witch was busy with a new spell and had a riddle for Esme. If the girl managed to solve it, the witch would let her go. If Esme failed, she'd have to stay with the witch forever. So the witch had 6 test tubes. The first 3 were empty, and the last 3 were full. For the spell, full and empty tubes had to alternate. Esme had to solve this problem, but she could only touch one tube. How can she do it? Esme should take the 5th tube and pour the liquid from it into the second one. A bank was robbed on a Friday evening. There were no customers and no signs of a break-in, which meant it was one of the bank employees. The robbery was discovered by the bank director, Mr. Perry. There were 3 main suspects, Miss Cott, Mr. Mendez, and Miss Morgan. All of them denied being anywhere close to the safe, but one of them lied. Who was it? Pay attention to the footprints. These must belong to Mr. Perry, but there's another pair which must be heels. Mr. Mendez is wearing sneakers and Miss Morgan is wearing flats. Miss Cott is the only one wearing heels. The footprints are likely to be hers, so she lied. Mrs. Nichols has 4 daughters and a son. The oldest daughter's name is April. She's an artist. The second daughter is December. She's into sports. Her third daughter is August, and she's keen on cooking. May is the 4th one, and she likes reading. Their brother Adam is the youngest in the family. How is his name connected to his sisters? The first letters of the girls' names make up the name Adam. Another family riddle for you. Ava is Bella's sister, Bella is Ella's sister, and Ella is Ruby's mother. Who is Ruby for Ava? If Ava is Bella's sister and Bella is Ella's sister, it seems like the 3 of them are sisters. Since Ruby is Ella's daughter, then both Ava and Bella are Ruby's aunts. So Ruby is Ava's niece. Take a look at these friends at the beach. Which of them is a robot? It must be this girl. Look, it's very hot outside and everyone is sweating, except her. That's kind of odd. The police also broke into 3 apartments. In one of them, a robot lives. Can you guess where? Look, there's a lot of machine oil in the bathroom. I'll bet it belongs to the robot. What about this photo? Can you spot a robot here? It's summer and everyone is wearing shorts and tops, except for this guy. He's wearing long pants, a long-sleeve shirt, and even gloves. He must be hiding his body. I'd say it's him. Here's a photo of people sitting in a cafe. Can you spot a robot here? It must be this lady, since she's not drinking or eating anything. Guess why? Well, robots can't eat human food, obviously. Another peek into some people's houses. One room belongs to a robot, but which one? It must be this one. Look, there's a whole bunch of bolts and spare parts in the wardrobe. Have a look at this group of friends. Can you tell which of them is a robot? It must be this guy. There's some steam and sparks coming from it. Perhaps it's a robot that needs some renovations. Aiko has won a game show, and she can finally get her prize. But there's a catch, one last task. There are 3 boxes, and she can pick one to take with her. One box is filled with $100 bills, another box contains 5-cent coins, and the last box has both bills and coins. The boxes look exactly the same, and the girl can't touch any of them. The boxes have labels: bills on the left one, coins in the middle one, and bills and coins on the right one. All the boxes are labeled wrong. Aiko can't look inside any of the boxes, but she can ask for one sample from any box. What should Aiko's strategy be to identify the box filled with bills only? Since all the boxes are labeled wrong, Aiko should ask for a sample from the bills and coins box. If there's a bill there, then that's the one she needs. She should simply take it. If there's a coin, then it's the box with coins. In that case, the remaining boxes contain bills and bills with coins. And since the labels are incorrect, the one with bills is the one marked with the label coins. The day that is tomorrow for the day after tomorrow is as far away from Wednesday as the day that is yesterday for the day before yesterday. So, what day is it today? The tomorrow for the day after tomorrow and the yesterday for the day before yesterday are exactly 3 days away from today. If they're equally far away from Wednesday, then today is Wednesday. Meadow loved animals, and she decided to get some frogs. She talked to her mom about it, and they made a decision. Only one of these 3 statements is correct. 1. Meadow got at least 1 frog. 2. Meadow got at least 5 frogs. 3. Meadow got fewer than 5 frogs. How many frogs did Meadow get? So, only one statement is correct. If it's the first one, then the other 2 must be wrong. In this case, she can't get 5 or more frogs, so it doesn't work. If the second statement is correct, then she has at least 5 frogs. But then the first statement is automatically correct too. Let's say the third statement is correct, so she got fewer than 5 frogs. Automatically, the second statement is wrong. But for the first statement to be wrong too, she should have got fewer than 1 frog. So it seems that, after talking to her mom, Meadow got 0 frogs.
Driving through the country to visit their family. One day, late at night, they were on a lonely country road. That's when a powerful storm broke, and their car tire burst. They had to leave the vehicle to find help, but there was nothing, and no one around. Sometime later, they came across an old and spooky mansion that seemed abandoned, but the guys decided to try and see if anyone lived there and could help them. They arrived at the mansion gate. On a metal address plaque, it was written, "The House of Riddles." Gemma and Andy got suspicious, but they desperately needed shelter from the storm and some help with their car. So they decided to enter. But the gate was locked. There was a digital security keypad on it and nothing else. Suddenly, they heard a sound coming from the gate intercom. A voice said,
The answer to this riddle of mine is the password you need to unlock the gate. I sleep by day and fly at night, but I have no feathers to aid my flight. What am I?
That's a bat. When the guys arrived at the door, they saw there was something engraved on it. Stop right there, Wanderer. Don't knock on the door just yet. For if you knock more or fewer times than you should, that you're gonna regret. Here's your second riddle. I am an odd number, but I become even if you take away a letter. What am I? Gemma and Andy realized that the number equaled the number of times they had to knock on the door for it to open. Can you help them figure out the correct number? The answer is 7, so they had to knock on the door 7 times. A scary old butler opened the door and let the guys in. The door suddenly closed behind their backs and then just vanished into thin air. There were no doors in the room they had entered. The butler said, "Welcome, mortals, to your doom. To make it out of this house, you have to solve every riddle in every room. If you can't, you'll stay in this place forever. Here's your riddle for this room. Which bride is marrying this groom?" If they managed to figure out the answer, a door would appear. If they could not, well, too bad. Do you see the shadows behind them? The third bride's shadow is holding hands with the groom's shadow. They're in love, so she must be his chosen one. After they had answered the riddle correctly, a door appeared in front of them. They got into the next room, which was a library. 3 books fell from a bookcase in front of their feet. Then they heard the butler's voice echoing, "You have to open one of these books, but choose wisely, because whatever creature the book mentions, it will appear here." If Gemma and Andy opened the first book, a venomous basilisk would come out. If they opened the second book, a giant piranha monster with razor-sharp teeth would appear in the library. If they opened the third book, a fire-breathing dragon would charge at them. Which book should they choose? Since the giant piranha is a water creature, it can't survive on land, so the guys should choose the second book. The library door opened, and they walked into the next room. It turned out to be a dining room. A large mirror covered one of its walls. Yet, the reflection of the room in the mirror had some differences from the real room. Can you spot them? The reflection of the deer statue in the mirror has more antlers. In the reflection, you can see someone hiding behind the curtains. But there's no one besides Gemma and Andy in the room. And lastly, in the mirror, one of the plates on the table is different from the others. But in the real dining room, all the plates are the same. Gemma and Andy felt very hungry. Thankfully, the next door that opened led them to the kitchen. There were 3 different chefs inside. The first chef was a zombie, the second one was a vampire, and the third chef was human. Each of them was holding a pie in their hands, but only one pie was safe to eat. Which one? Do you see the bugs coming out of the zombie chef's pie? Yikes! The pie that the human chef is holding is glowing in a weird way. Looks dangerous to me. So, they should choose the vampire chef's pie. Because that's not blood, that's cherry sauce on top. If it was blood, the vampire would have already eaten that. After they answered the riddle, 2 doors appeared in front of them. One of them had Gemma's name on it, and the other had Andy's. The butler sneaked behind the guys and pushed Gemma through the Gemma door, and Andy through the Andy door. Gemma fell down a pit and found herself in a mysterious garden. She accidentally woke a garden gnome who had been sleeping. He got very angry with her, and still, he agreed to let Gemma go if she answered his question correctly. He showed Gemma 3 tiny mushroom houses and asked which one was his home. Can you figure it out? Do you see the flower on the gnome's hat? The door handle of the second mushroom house handle is the same flower, so that must be his home. Andy, on the other hand, fell into a magical dungeon. The dungeon guard was an ogre, and he looked very pleased to finally have a prisoner. Yet he agreed to let Andy go if the guy chose the correct magical portal to escape. 2 magical portals appeared in front of him. Each of them led to a room. Andy had to stay inside the room of his choice for 5 minutes. The first room was full of poisonous gas that would knock him out in 4 minutes, and the second room was filled with water. If Andy opted for this room, he would have to be chained to the floor with the water rising really fast. In which room can the guy survive? Andy should choose the first room. He should take a breath and try not to breathe for a minute. After that, he'll have to wait for 4 minutes for the door to open, and then he can escape. Both Gemma and Andy were magically transported to the hallway after having answered their riddles correctly. They were happy to be together again. At the end of the hallway, there was a door, and in front of the door, a witch stood. She placed 3 long magic wands on the table in front of her and said,
You do not need to do anything to one of these wands. One you must break in half, and one needs to be even shorter than that half.
The witch added that they could only answer once, and if their answer was wrong, she wouldn't open the door. So, can you tell which wand should be the longest, which one they need to break into half, and which one needs to be the shortest? Do you see those spiders hanging from the ceiling? Since the door is shaped like a spider, they must be giving Gemma and Andy a hint. The silk thread that the first spider is hanging on is the shortest, so the first wand needs to be the shortest. The silk thread that the second spider is hanging on is the longest, which means that the second wand needs to remain as it is. And the silk thread that the third spider is hanging on is of a medium length, which means that the guys need to break the third wand in half. The witch opened the door and Gemma and Andy entered a bedroom. 3 spirits were floating inside. Each of them claimed to be the owner of the mansion. Gemma knew only one of them was telling the truth. Who is it? The spirit of the elderly lady is telling the truth. Why? Let's rewind a bit. Did you notice the portraits hanging on the walls in the hallway? There's a portrait of this very lady. That can only mean she used to be one of the owners of the mansion. The next stop was a living room. When they walked in, Andy saw something weird. What was it? A face appears and disappears in the fireplace. The guys entered a study next. What's so weird here? The fingers of this medieval knight's armor are tapping on the sword. The next room was a guest bedroom. What's weird here? The crystal ball is showing someone trapped in the basement. Gemma and Andy decided to take a look at the basement in case someone really needed help. Yet they had to crack another riddle to enter. There was a password panel and they needed to type in 7 digits to unlock the door. They had no idea what the passcode could be. Luckily, there was a note on the wall, and this word was written on it. What does it even mean? Turn the note upside down. What do you see now? The letters look like numbers, right? So the passcode is 1837837. There were 3 people in the basement who claimed to be trapped there, but only one of them was telling the truth. Who is that? Do you see the stitches on the elbows of this lady? She's a creepy ragdoll, so she's lying. And this man has claws instead of fingers. He must be a shapeshifter or something. Then it must be this guy who's telling the truth, so Gemma and Andy took him with them. After the guys answered every riddle in every room correctly, the butler appeared again. Thank you, travelers. Now you're free to go, but this you must know. All of us in this house are cursed. Answer this one last riddle for the curse to be reversed. Once we are finally free, we'll help you with your car too. You'll see. There are 9 people in front of you. One of them is a monster who cursed us. Tell us who. This guy has 2 horns that are hiding in his hair. He is not a human. He's a monster.
Becky attended her high school reunion last weekend.
Hello.
All of her friends seem to be doing really well in life. Connor showed up wearing clothes from expensive brands.
Hello.
Matilda had not just 1, but 2 of the latest smartphones.
Oh.
Tom showed up in a fancy sports car, and Beth was wearing a luxurious watch on her wrist. Take a good look at Becky's friends. Can you tell who is really rich? Well, let's see. If you look closely, Connor didn't take off the tags from his clothes. This probably means that he's planning on returning them after the reunion.
Yeah.
Matilda's phones are fake. Look at the label. It's just a copy of the original brand.
Ah.
And Beth's watch is way bigger than her wrist, which means that the watch is not really hers. So, Tom is probably the richest person at the reunion.
Oh, yeah.
Amy's favorite band is in town, and she really wants to go to their concert. She asks her stepmother if she can go, but she says she will only allow Amy to go if she does a series of things for her.
Oh.
The first thing the stepmother asks is for Amy to bring her some water in a colander. To get this right, Amy needs to think outside the box.
Okay.
Can you help Amy figure out how she can do that? Amy needs to freeze some water and put the cubes in the colander.
Yeah.
Technically, frozen water is still water, right? Next, her stepmother asks Amy to pick out the perfect evening dress for her. Amy walks into her stepmother's closet, and there are 3 dresses, a red, a green, and a blue. Take a look at the picture. Which dress should Amy choose? If you look closely, the button on the blue dress is about to come off. The green dress has a big paint stain on it, so Amy should pick the red dress.
Yes!
Before Amy can take the dress to her stepmother, the woman enters the room. She sees the stain on the dress and starts to shout at Amy, "How could you do this to my dress?" But Amy says she didn't do anything wrong, and that the paint was already there when she walked into the closet.
Yes!
The stepmother asks Amy to find the culprit.
Oh.
If she could figure out who had stained her dress, then Amy could go to the concert.
Okay.
The 3 main suspects are Amy's stepsisters, Ella, Bella, and Gabriella.
What?
They don't like Amy, so it's likely that one of them splashed paint on their mother's dress in order to frame her. When the stepsisters are out of the house, Amy sneaks into their bedroom to try to find the culprit. Take a look at the room. The first bed belongs to Ella, the second belongs to Bella, and the third bed belongs to Gabriella. Can you tell who did it? It was Gabriella. Her bed is the third one on the left. And if you look closely, it has a bucket of paint under it. Emily and Barbara are getting ready for a girls' night out.
Yes!
They are putting on makeup and getting their hair done. They have pretty similar tastes, and their things look pretty much the same. But one of them has more money than the other.
Oh.
Looking at the image, can you tell which one has the more expensive stuff? Take a look at Barbara. Her dress kind of gives it away since it's obviously a knockoff. So Emily is the one with the more expensive stuff. Harry decided to backpack around the world on his own.
Yeah!
On the plane, he sat next to a girl. He asked her where she was from.
Yes.
But instead of answering, she showed him 2 emojis on her cell phone.
Oh!
Take a look at the image. Can you tell which country the girl is from? Let's see. That's an iron and a piece of land. I guess she's from Ireland? As soon as Harry landed in Paris, he went strolling along the streets to find a place to stay. He found a cute little hotel and decided to go inside. Big mistake. Why? Take a look at the window on the last floor. It looks like there's a ghost. Yikes. I'd look for another place to stay if I were him. After he found a better hotel to stay in, he decided to get lunch. He ordered the classic French onion soup. But when his dish came, it was filled with cockroaches. He called the restaurant's manager to tell them about the incident. The manager said, "This is unacceptable. I will find the person who did this and fire them immediately." There were 3 suspects. The cook said that he had prepared the soup as usual. It was okay when he passed it to the waiter. The waiter said that he hadn't touched the soup. He just served it to Harry and hurried to take the order from another table. The manager also questioned the cleaner, who said that he had spent the last hours cleaning the bathroom and had no idea what the fuss was about. Can you tell who is guilty? No one. Look at the ventilation system. It's full of roaches. They must have crawled out of it and fallen into Harry's soup. Yikes. There are 3 passengers in the business class of an international flight that is headed towards Rome. Take a look at these 3 people. The first lady looks pretty well dressed. She's wearing a luxurious designer handbag and is texting on her expensive phone.
Hello.
The guy in the middle is working with stock charts on his laptop, and the third guy is enjoying a cup of coffee while reading an article in the Financial Times. Can you tell which one is the real billionaire? Let's see. The woman may look well dressed, but if you see the tag on her clothes, it says 100% polyester. It's unlikely that a billionaire would wear something like this. The guy working with stock charts is wearing old, ripped shoes. I doubt that's a fashion choice, so he's probably not a billionaire. Oh. That leaves us the last guy. If you look closely, the article he is reading is about him. The title of the article is The World's Newest Billionaire. Oh, yeah. I guess we found our guy, huh? Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. Oh. A priceless diamond disappeared, and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitor said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he's fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila, the diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the left corner? Those look like bear footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could find was a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor behind the first door were made entirely of magnifying glass, which meant that the sunlight would probably burn him if he entered. The second door hid a room full of poisonous gas. and behind the third door was a hungry lion. What should Atlas do to escape? He should wait until it's nighttime and use the first door. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack a bag for the trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back from the weekend, she was telling her mother all about the trip. But somewhere during the conversation, she asked her mother why she hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where she had really been that weekend. How? Because Sydney's mother did pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone camping, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic along with a note. The note said that there were $1 million inside one of the bags. It also said that the 2 other bags were empty. She only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash, and she could trust that one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it said, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag read, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the clues is true, then the money is in the first bag. The police have been after Mr. Burke for many years, trying to prove he's involved in illicit activities, but they never managed to catch him. One day, Detective Lawrence decided to make a surprise visit to Mr. Burke's office. As soon as the detective arrived, Mr. Burke's secretary said he was away on a business trip. The detective asked to see Mr. Burke's office and took a picture of it, but he wasn't allowed to touch anything without a warrant. So, Detective Lawrence went back to the station and got a warrant. When he returned to Mr. Burke's office, he noticed someone had been in there. Take a look at both pictures and try to find out what Detective Lawrence saw. The desk lamp is tilted and the books are in different places. Someone definitely was in that room. Detective Lawrence decided to search Mr. Burke's entire office. In one room, he found there were footprints up until the middle of the room, and then they disappeared. The only window of the room was open. "Oh no!" Detective Lawrence shouted. "I can't believe he escaped again." He took a picture of the room and took it to the police station. At the station, he showed the picture to the other detectives, and one of them said he had cracked the case. Take a look at the picture. How did the detective solve the case? The detective understood that Mr. Burke was a shapeshifter. This explains why the footprints didn't reach the window. Plus, look at all the bird food on the floor. He probably shapeshifted into a bird and escaped.
Hazel is a rock climber. She's packing bags for an expedition to Everest. Can you spot any extra items in her suitcase? It's unlikely that you would need these fancy high-heeled shoes in the mountains. Also, this fragile vase is useless on a hike. Hazel orders a taxi to go to the airport. She's using this app. There are 4 free cars in her neighborhood, but only one of them can reach Hazel's home. Can you tell which one? It's the third car. Hazel arrives at the airport. She takes a closer look at her ticket and faints. Can you guess why? The name of the airport on the ticket doesn't match the airport that she's in. Hazel needs to go to the correct airport as quickly as possible. These 2 drivers are eager to give her a ride. Can you tell who will reach the destination faster? Although the second car looks more expensive and chic, it has a flat tire. Therefore, Hazel should choose the first driver. Finally, Hazel boards her flight. She falls asleep right away. She wakes up in a while and realizes that someone has stolen her phone. Hazel questions 3 suspects. Bill says, "I've been watching a movie within the last hour. I didn't look around. Sorry." Kyle says, "I was sleeping too until you woke me up." And Sheila says, "I'm afraid of flying, so I listened to soothing music with my eyes closed." Can you guess who stole Hazel's phone? Nobody. She just dropped it on the floor over here. See? It's dinner time. Kyle offers Hazel his dessert if she succeeds in guessing the date of his birth. Here's a hint. The day before yesterday, Kyle was 22, and next year, Kyle will be 25. Can you help Hazel solve this mystery? Today is the 1st of January, and Kyle's birthday was on the 31st of December. Therefore, Kyle was 22 on December 30th. Then he turned 23 on December 31st. This year, he will turn 24, and the next year, 25. Finally, Hazel lands in Nepal. She enters the baggage claim area and sees 3 odd things right away. Can you see them too? There's a dog in this bag. Animals don't come with regular luggage. This baggage cart lacks all wheels and floats in the air. And these boats are parked outside the window along with the planes. Hazel arrives at the meeting point for climbers at the local restaurant. But there's no one there. The cleaning lady says, "I was busy cleaning the toilet and just got back. I didn't see anyone." The guard says, "Oh yeah, the meeting has been delayed for tomorrow, that's for sure." And the waiter says, "I've been here all the time, and I haven't noticed any crowds of tourists. Who's lying?" The guard. See this sign? The meeting takes place on the roof. That's why they didn't see the tourists. On the way to the roof, Hazel sees a woman who's cleaning a window on the 10th floor. Suddenly, she slips and falls. She doesn't have any safety equipment and nothing to soften her fall. But yet, she's not hurt. How can this be? The woman was cleaning the window inside the building. Finally, Hazel meets her group of climbers. But one of these people is an imposter. Can you guess who? This guy has tentacles instead of a hand. He's definitely not from this planet. Hazel goes on an expedition with the group. She stops to take some pictures and gets lost. In a while, Hazel finds 3 roads leading to the next mountain village. But every path hides some adventure. There's a hungry snow leopard walking on the first path. There's a herd of Himalayan yaks on the second path. And Road 3 leads through an avalanche risk area. Any movement can make the snow slide down. Which way is more or less safe? Hazel should choose the second path. Although these yaks look pretty scary, in fact, they're friendly plant eaters. Hazel checks into the local hostel. She leaves her bags in the room and goes to see the sights of the village. After a while, she returns and finds out that someone had stolen her passport. Hazel calls the sheriff and he interrogates 4 suspects. The hotel manager says, "I was dealing with a tourist group that has just arrived. I didn't notice any robbers." The hostel owner says, "I was dealing with the bathroom clog all day." The gardener says, I didn't enter the hostel. I was watering the roses in the garden. And the cleaner says, I was too busy feeding fish in the lobby. I didn't notice anything suspicious. Who's lying? The cleaner. Can you see any aquariums in the lobby? Hazel visits a local restaurant. The cook offers her 3 meals to choose from. Can you help her pick the safest option? There's a worm in these instant noodles, and there are too many flies around this rice. It's probably not very fresh. So, Hazel should choose this sandwich. In the village, Hazel meets the local guide, Luke. He offers to show Hazel the shortest way to the top. But first, Hazel has to solve his riddle. Luke and his wife have 7 children. Half of them are sons. How is this possible? Can you help Hazel solve this mystery? They are all sons. Luke and Hazel begin the trip. On the way, he offers Hazel to visit the local magic caves. Hazel agrees, but eventually she gets lost inside one of the caves. She wanders around for a while and finds these 3 tunnels. There's a portal to the sun in the first tunnel. There's a box with an ancient magic gemstone inside the second tunnel. This gemstone curses anyone who sees it. And finally, the third tunnel hides a bunch of poisonous scorpions. Which way should Hazel choose to survive? The second one. The gemstone is locked in the box, so Hazel should just walk by it. Hazel needs to cross this toxic swamp to continue her trip. The only way to do so is to jump from one block to another. Can you help her choose the last stone wisely? Each block has a particular number: 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, and 21. This sequence is formed by adding the number 4. Therefore, the remaining block should be 25, not 27. Hazel continues her journey and finds this weird sign engraved on a rock. Can you help her crack the meaning of this code? The arrow is pointing to the right. The message is mirrored. If the POT is on the right, it means that the TOP, or top, is on the left. Now Hazel knows the right direction. It's getting really cloudy. It'll rain soon. Hazel decides to hide in one of these 3 caves and have some lunch. Can you help her pick the safest place to stay? Take a look at the tracks. The first cave is probably home to a family of bears. Mother bears can get furious when it comes to their cub protection. As for the second cave, it's obvious that a human being has entered it and come back out, which is encouraging. And now, let's take a look at the third cave. A human entered it but never came out. Therefore, Hazel should choose the second cave. Finally, Hazel reaches the top of the mountain. Suddenly, a kind wizard pops out of nowhere and greets her. He suggests Hazel relocate to a hidden magic world. He says, "I'll show you the gates if you solve my riddle. So listen carefully. I'm very fragile, and even just saying my name could break me. What am I?" Any ideas what it might be? The correct answer is silence. The wizard shows Hazel the gates. There are 3 doors, but only one of them leads to the magic world. Can you help Hazel figure this out? Only the second path leads to the final destination. Bye-bye! That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like